Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast. You can see I don't have my full professional setup. I am recording in my mother-in-law's art office where she does all of her crafts because I am headed out on a 45-mile backpacking trip with a group of girls this week. So we're driving from Ohio into the Highlands in Pennsylvania, and we're going to spend, I think it's 4 days. 4 days, 3 nights backpacking. It is a spiritual journey where we are going to be tapping into our mental toughness, really reconnecting with our bodies, with our nature. And this week I'm recording in the office. I didn't have time to record last week. So I wanted just to show you guys what showing up can look like, and that it doesn't always have to look perfect. So this is a reminder for you to just show up and get consistent. Put on that professional mask, that professional alter ego, and work within those realms. It doesn't mean it has to look one particular way the whole time. And that is a teaser for what we're going to talk about today. This week's archetype that we're working with is the mask. And before you say, oh, well, I just want to be authentic, your commitment to being authentic in your business is actually just fear. And when you're in true authenticity, true connection to source, you're able to tap into the various versions that go beyond your stories, that go beyond your restrictions of who you can be as a business owner, as a leader, as someone in a thriving career. So what you're claiming as authenticity is just your commitment to staying small. And I'm being so real with you today because this is a conversation I've had to have with myself countless times. If you're new here, welcome. If someone sent you this podcast, thank them for us. Typically, I have my full studio set up, but today we are just working with what we have. And on Mondays, we talk about the energy of the week. We pull a card, I do an intuitive reading, and then we talk about how you can apply this to your life so that you can grow your business, your career with less stress, more joy, and a deeper connection to spirit and source so that you can kick burnout goodbye. All right, guys, let's get into this week's energetic reading. All right, this week's card is the mask. If you're watching on YouTube, you know you can see the card here. If you're in the Rooted membership, I've sent you the card inside of our WhatsApp group along with your integration points. And before you go again, oh, this is about inauthenticity. I need you to stay with me because that is not the energy of what this card is inviting you to do. The mask in this reading is not about hiding who you are. It's about giving a voice to the parts of you that have been waiting for permission to fully come online. I want you to sit with that for a minute. I am willing to give the parts of me that have been in the shadow, the parts of me that haven't had the energy flowing to it. I'm giving those parts permission to come online. So let's start with the card and the image and how to take that. So if you have ever done tarot or any type of oracle reading, you know that the image, you know that art elicits emotions, it elicits experiences. So we're going to start with that first. So one side is dark. On this card, it is split with lines radiating outward, and the other side is surrounded by a rainbow, both dark and light, which has been a very common theme in our readings, and they're both held by the same mask. And so inside of this image, I want to remind you that we carry both the dark and the light. That doesn't mean good and bad. I want to encourage you to remove the morality from this. From, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is right or wrong. No, this just is. This is the oneness that comes from being able to hold the duality. I know this almost sounds counterintuitive, but when we can say, yes, both exist, we can then step back and the bigger picture becomes oneness, our ability to be one in connection with source. So we've always carried both of those. So the traditional reading of the mask is that it conceals. But this particular reading, this card is an invitation to flip that. And that is also how Kim Kranz, the creator of this deck, offers and invites you to perceive this card. The mask here is what permits your true identity to fully be revealed. It is giving a massive voice to the parts that have been previously rejected. Okay, so the parts of you that were told didn't belong or weren't right for entrepreneurship or weren't right for a leadership role or weren't, that look that you needed to have. I know that was a big one for me. Like, oh, you need to have this look to show up online and sell your business and make money. And buying into those stories keeps us really small. It keeps our vision and our dream from being fully accepted and fully recognized. And so this card, the mask, is inviting us to look at the parts that we've been shutting down because we felt like no one has had space for them or that they would not be received, because to be perceived is to be rejected. And this reading, it is also saying you are in the realm of theater. And in theater, anything is possible, baby. This is show business, baby. So how can we begin to put on these masks of, I wonder what is possible when I can play? I wonder what is possible when I allow myself to fully be involved in the game. Because ultimately, that's what we're doing. We are playing in the game of life. We're playing in the game of business. And a lot of people are like, I hate the game. Well, when your soul said, yep, I'm coming to this plane, I'm coming to this experience, it made an agreement, right? It's that soul contract to play the game. And your unwillingness to learn the rules is what's keeping you small. It's what's keeping you broke. It's what's keeping you burnt out. And so here's what I'm seeing a lot with clients as they're first coming to work with me, as I'm working with these leaders, these entrepreneurs, these creatives. They are getting really clear on who they are, which is really beautiful. And they have started to prune. Okay, this is like, think about in seasonal terms. I'm going to cut away all the parts that don't fit this identity of who I've built, of the business owner, of the person that's like fully authentic, the person that's deeply connected to spirit, right? They've started to prune away anything that doesn't fit that mold. And those parts that haven't fit the mold are ultimately those parts that feel too much, that maybe feel too weird, too soft, too loud, or like, oh, that's too playful for business or too serious for what I'm offering. And when we've pruned that because we've said, this is who I am, and instead of saying, I am all things, we start to limit ourselves. Because when you reject those parts, you cut off access to your creativity. I talk about creativity so much because it is an overlooked part of building business and of being a full rounded leader, getting creative as we solve problems, accessing divine flow, right? Because we create these boxes of, this is who I am. And when you say, this is who I am, it's a statement instead of, I am all things. I wonder what I get to experience today. That approach can allow you to morph into the various parts of your divinity. That's ultimately the full overview of what archetypal living is. And I'm not saying that you have to fake who you are. This is not an abandonment of self as in the soul. This is a redirection of, if I am all things and I have access to full divine creativity, how can I be true to myself while letting the mold of it has to be this way, right? I know this is like a deeper spiritual concept, and I want you to take this slow, but I know you guys are going to receive this. So just take it slow, sit with it, okay? Because this creativity that we've talked about, that is not going to live in a really tidy, well-defined version of who you think you should be. That is going to be found when you are able to be in full version of your human and divine form, right? This card, when it's saying, yes, we are fully divine, that means that we carry aspects of every part of self, all of it, the dancer, the mystic, the comedian, the strategist, the mother, the rebel. It is the feminine and the masculine. It is the one who wants to be seen and the one who wants to disappear into the work and like put our nose to the ground. So when you say, that's not me, you're not protecting your identity. And this is really like an energetic line shift that I want us to pay attention to, because you know when you say, oh, that is not for me, right? That is not for me. That's not really the medicine I'm looking for. You know that that's different, but then, oh, that could never be me. That's not me, right? Like when someone's saying, oh, this is a strategy, this is an offering, this is an opportunity that you could use to grow your business or to up level on your career. And you're like, oh, that's not me, right? You know the difference between energetic alignment and energetic misalignment. And then you know where the ego is coming in. This is what I'm asking you to refine and to pay attention to. Because this limitation, oh, that's not me, it is going to show up in your business if you don't get clear on it. It's showing up in your art, in your relationships. It is showing up in that, like, God, I'm so exhausted, because you're playing into a narrower version. That's a hard word for me. Narrower version of yourself than you truly are, because you are the full spectrum, baby. And your business, your career, your dream of the world is asking you to embody all of that. Okay, so what do we do with this mask archetype? This week, I want you to try something on. I want you to think about what's been really intriguing to you. Maybe something that's come up time and time again, something that sparked your interest, because those are signs and synchronicities from nature, spirit, source. That is how the universe communicates to us. And I want to encourage you to not go into the logical part of the mind, not thinking, oh, this fits my brand, this fits my role, this fits my 5-year plan. I want you to pay attention to what has been really tugging at you from like way over there, something that's continually just been popping up. And maybe it doesn't have anything to do with your business or career. Maybe it's a hobby that's been being present. Because when we work in tandem, when we allow our channel to be wide open and say, I am a receiver of everything, I can put on different versions of myself and play with the plethora of what is available to me, that is how we get to our goals quicker. What if in that pottery class that you're going to try out, that you meet your most ideal client that opens up 100 more clients, or you get that promotion because you went to that coffee shop? Try on the versions, the experiences, the things that have been tugging at you. Go beyond the limitations that you're already setting for yourself. This could also be maybe a different way of speaking than you usually do. Maybe it's that creative outlet that maybe feels a little indulgent, but has really been calling to you. Maybe it's a leadership style that you've looked up to, but you don't think it's you. I'm saying this with quotes if you're not watching the video. It can be simply a way of moving through the world when you're putting on, oh, I am someone that is joyful. I'm someone that is playful. It can simply be embodying an energy that wasn't conditioned into you, because those are things that can open up passages to worlds that we never knew was possible, because simply shifting your energetic field allows brand new experiences to come on. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, this is exactly how I want to run my business, that is your sign to go deeper. Rooted is my monthly membership for entrepreneurs and leaders who are done running their business and their career on empty. Inside, we work with energetic patterns of each season, pull the archetypes, read what's moving, and use all of it to make clearer decisions, reduce the stress that's been quietly draining you, and build towards your vision in a way that actually feels like you and feels deeply connected to source and spirit. Most of us have spent years mastering the strategy and performing really high. The plans, the goals, the hustle. Rooted is the other half. It is the part that makes the strategy work without costing you everything. It's $27 a month, and you can try it free for 7 days. Go to risetoher.com/rooted or click the link in the show notes. Come get rooted with us. I'll see you inside. So this reading is asking you, if you put on that persona, what would it feel like? How would you invoke that energy? Feel it in your body. I want you to become so present with it that your cells start to tingle with it, that it becomes a full felt experience, not just like, oh, you need to fake it till you make it. No, I want you to become. And this is not me telling you, oh, you just need to go perform because that is how we make it out here. No, this is a ritual, a living ritual of expanding the self. And when you expand yourself, like I said earlier, you're going to expand what is fully possible for you. It's going to expand what's possible for your business, for your work, and ultimately for how you're going to overall move through life. One book that came to me as I was doing this reading was Todd Herman's book, The Alter Ego Effect. It is totally worth reading here. I'll link it in the show notes. If you have not read it, highly recommend. And Todd works with elite athletes and high performers on how to do exactly this, but he takes on a more cognitive approach rather than a spiritual perspective. And he wants to give you access and permission to being more than one thing. And that is what we're doing here, on using the mask to access the various aspects of self, your full divinity. There's a line in this reading that I want you to sit with for a moment. If you have the opportunity, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, but if not, it's not safe to do so. Then just hear it and let it sink in. Inside of this book that Kim Krans writes, the guidebook, says the lie is that you were told you couldn't hold these things, that they weren't you. The lie is that you were told you couldn't hold these things, that they weren't you. That is it. That is the whole thing. At some point, someone told you, maybe directly or indirectly, that you were a certain kind of person, not this other version, right? That you were good at this, but not that. Maybe they told you that your creativity didn't count as something that could make it, that your voice wasn't what people would buy from, that your way of leading was too unconventional, too direct, too intimidating, too soft. Maybe they said that your softness was simply a liability in your business, or that your ambition is just too much, especially if you're a woman. And at some point along the way, many of us believed it. And most of us do for a while because it's human. The brain creates these things, these rules to simplify existence. But you are not here to be simplified. This is part of why I love bridging science and spirituality, helping you understand why we've taken these concepts and made them black and white in the human context, because our brain, an organ, loves to conceptualize things, but we are not our brain or our mind, or we would not be able to observe our thoughts. You are not here to be simplified. So when this card is showing up in the deck, know that there's possibility on the horizon. And so when we see the mask in the shadow, in the dark, it's meaning that something is being further concealed. It's mentioning that something really wants to come out, but you're like pushing it down. No, not right now. No, that won't work for here. And this reading, furthermore, is going to ask you to think about a mask or a costume. And this reading is going to ask you to think about a mask or a costume that you've worn that felt empowering, that felt fun, beautiful, a role that felt like, oh my God, I can come alive. Like when people act or in plays, they're like, that was so fun. Think about who you were in that moment, the aspects that you can carry, because that person that put on that fun, marvelous, beautiful, serious, powerful costume, mask, role, that person is still in you. They never left. Now it's just about re-invoking those parts. Stop allowing those limitations, those stories of who you are dictate how you make decisions and how you allow things to come to you. And I want to close with something from Zen philosophy. It says, meditate on your original face, the one you had before your mother and father were born, before you were ever shaped in the physical 3D reality, before the corrections and the conditionings and the roles were handed to you, before you learned, oh, this is what's acceptable. Who were you then? Your soul is infinite. It does not shrink to fit circumstances. We do that. The human brain does that. And this week, this invitation is to let the soul version of you take up a little more space again. For me personally, this card is pointing to bringing my feminine energy more fully into how I lead and how I work in business. I've been carrying a lot of masculine energy in how I structure and push and build, and I love that about myself. But there is a part of me, like all of us, that is sensual, that is fluid, that is receptive and creative in a way that just simply moves very differently than a masculine structure. And that part is something I am tapping into. Your version of this is going to be completely your own, but I trust you already know what it is. And if you don't, take some time to regulate the body. If you're inside of Rooted, drop into a meditation, hop into the integration vault. They're quick. They're designed for busy people to clear out the field so that you can allow yourself to see the signs, the synchronicities of where you're being invited into your own version. Because it's going to be that thing that's been intriguing you, the thing that you keep coming back to, and then you're talking yourself out of it. This week, I want you to stop talking yourself out of it this week. So this week, stop talking yourself out of it. So I'm going to give you a few ways to integrate this into your work over the next 7 days. I want you to pick one thing you've been curious about, that you've told yourself, oh, that's not me. And it may feel like that you're playing dress up, but this is going to be something that is going to re-invoke that childlike curiosity, that possibility, that joy. I want you to try it on. It does not have to be a brand decision. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm completely flipping my business. I just want you to experiment with the idea of possibility this week. I want you to notice what opens up when you do. Notice where your creativity starts to really funnel through. Maybe you're simply changing up your routine and your structures and you're going on more walks. And now, because you're someone who walks with quotes, right? You're someone who walks. This is who I am. You now are allowing all of these flows. Maybe it's a different type of movement like yoga or CrossFit or Pilates. And you become someone who allows this. And it gets to be easier. You get to notice what becomes more fun when you tap into this various versions of self. And if you've been to the Portal of Joy workshop inside of Rooted, this is exactly the energy that we tap into there, because play is a portal. Joy is a portal. When you're able to move through those portals, it's not just that we feel better, because we do, but we access parts of ourselves that were never actually gone. We rewire the human form to start to allow ourselves to fully experience the joy of everything around us, so that we then can become that divine conduit. So if you've been feeling stuck, you're like, oh, we're in this season of summer, we just had Beltane, and now Emily's talking about abundance, and we're in birthing season, lambing season. We talked about the mother and what creative projects. And I'm just not feeling creative. You've got to get into that workshop, because it will quite literally rewire the way your brain perceives, because our hardware and our human system can be upgraded. I am a researcher by training. We know that this is true. We can upgrade our mindset. We can upgrade the way that our brain perceives things. We can use what typically is said as confirmation bias that we look at from a lens of limiting. We can now use that so that we seek out things that expand us. And when we honor that human form, when we upgrade our systems that are running, we then expand our energetic portal to receive the creative wisdom. Because if we don't do anything with it, someone else is going to run with it. Okay? This week, we're giving ourselves permission. We're tapping into the joy. We're playing with possibility. And you can get access to the Portal of Joy workshop inside of Rooted. The link will be in the show notes. 7 days free. And then it's just $27 a month. It is so worth it. It will open your field. This is energetic mastery for leaders and entrepreneurs and creatives. See the unseen. Okay, this is your reading for the week. Know that I'm going to be hiking, becoming different versions of myself this week. If this reading landed for you, I want you to share it with someone who needs it, screenshot it, Tag me on Instagram at Rise to Her. I would love to hear any revelations, any things you tried on this week. Leave a review if you liked what you heard. And if you want to go deeper into what we talked about today, I would love to have you inside of Rooted. We can jump into the Portal of Joy workshop. It is life-changing. It is amazing. And I want you to know that anything is possible. See you here next week. Bye. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram at Rise to Her. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.